listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, April 19th, 2019. And thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. It's also Good Friday. And I'm not sure why they call it Good Friday. I was asking this guy who's nailed to the cross why it's called Good Friday. And he says, heck if I know. And so we're getting here to the Easter weekend. It's also the start of Passover. And so a lot of stuff happening this weekend as well. And interestingly enough, or perhaps predictably enough, the Israelis are celebrating Passover while basically denying Palestinian Christians the rights to travel. There is a blockade, a closure of the West Bank and Gaza. They're not allowed to go to Bethlehem. And of course, this causes a lot of friction that's going on over there in the so-called Holy Land. It's also, of course, Patriots' Day, which is the anniversary of the battles of Lexington and Concord, which is when the British decided to seize a cache of arms set aside for potential military use by the colonists. And the British lost that one, which was basically the shot heard round the world, the start of the American Revolution. And it's also the anniversary of the final conflagration at Waco, Texas, where the United States government, having embarrassed itself with this BATF attempt at a publicity stunt, seizing a bunch of guns from the Branch Davidians and leading to a standoff, they basically resolved the whole situation by gassing the entire church to death with a poison gas that's illegal to use on enemy troops in time of war, bulldozed the place, set it on fire, burned it to the ground, bulldozed it, took all the soil away to an undisclosed location. I mean, literally scraped off 6 inches of soil and carted it off to a classified location so that nobody could look at any of the evidence as to what happened there. And of course, we know what happened at Waco. It was a very ugly. It was the government. They screwed up. Basically, here's what went on at Waco. BATF had a PR problem. They had been chartered to be their own enforcement agency. Originally, it wasn't. It was a paperwork agency. They were in charge of the paperwork for alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives, which, you know, how all of those things came under one bureaucracy, I don't know. But it was like this one bureaucracy saying, let's smoke a cigar, have a drink, blow up some fireworks, and shoot some stuff, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And then they were given their own enforcement capability, and they basically made a bunch of mistakes. They kicked down the wrong doors. They murdered a lot of innocent Americans who were trying to defend their homes against what they thought was armed intruders. And so the BATF decided they needed some positive press. And so they said, you know, down there in Waco, Texas, there's this church compound, this bunch of religious fanatics. And they fund their church by buying old, used firearms and refurbishing them, repairing them, and then reselling them at gun shows. It's Texas, a very common thing to do down there. And we're going to go down there, we're going to raid them. We're going to say those firearms are illegal. And we're going to have this spectacular raid, and we're going to get a lot of positive press. And so the BATF basically decided that they were going to raid the compound at the Branch Davidian Church. And they invited a lot of the local media to go along with them. And that's where things started to go wrong, because one of the reporters happened to be friends with David Koresh. And he called up David Koresh and said, "Do you know the BATF is coming to raid you guys?" And Koresh said, "No, it's kind of weird. We were out shooting together only a week ago." So the BATF shows up. They get a couple of cattle cars full of agents, and they show up with all their Kevlar and their armor and their guns and everything. And Koresh just opens the door and says, "What can I do for you?" And he gets shot in the crotch. Now, of course, that's going to annoy anybody. So he crawls back into the church and slams the door, and that begins the standoff. And it just goes downhill from there. And there's a bunch of BATF people who shoot themselves or each other. And it turns out the Branch Davidians weren't really in a position to shoot back, because all of the working firearms they had were actually out at a gun show being sold. And if you look at the photos of the remains of their so-called arsenal after it's all over, there's all the ash and cinder and debris from the fire just lying all over the guns that are in the room, showing that the guns were never taken out because they didn't work. Those were the guns that were stripped for parts, that were broken, that couldn't fire. And there's plenty of evidence to show that the gunfire went entirely one way, from the BATF in and none coming back. And the Branch Davidians just sat there and sat there and sat there until it got to be this huge embarrassment. And so the government said, "You know something, let's just go on in there and let's just kill them all. And we'll have the corporate media demonize David Koresh and say that he was molesting all those Branch Davidian children. We'll have a TV movie made that shows that he was just this evil monster that was like another Jim Jones," which is exactly what happened. And that's what happened on this day back then. They went on in and they just killed all those people as an embarrassment to the U.S. government. And they gassed them with this poison gas that was illegal to use against enemy troops in warfare, but it's okay to use against U.S. citizens. And they killed all those women and all those children and all those men and all those elderly. So next time that you see our government screaming about somebody like, "Oh, Assad is gassing his own people," well, okay, join the club. Our government does exactly the same thing, provably. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. Over in Paris, the firefighters have declared that the remains of Notre Dame are now stabilized. They don't think there's going to be any collapse of the stonework, which is a very good thing. It means the fire didn't get all that hot. So the firefighters have basically left, and the repair crews can start coming on in and start working on the reconstruction. Claire made a comment the other day about Notre Dame. We were having this discussion where she said, in one way, it was a very good thing, because it had unified all of France and brought, the people, all of the Catholics of the world together. And I had a slightly different view. I was saying, well, why couldn't God have gone and put the fire out before it really got going? But that's just my point of view. And but Claire is right. Notre Dame is an icon. It is a global icon. And a lot of people have pulled behind it. Vladimir Putin was out there saying, "We all watched with tears in our eyes as Notre Dame burned." And he's right. It is such a powerful symbol. We've all grown up with Notre Dame. It's always been there. Whether you're Catholic or not, it's always been there. It's an icon. I mean, even if it's just, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, or various other movies that it's been used in. It's always there. It's just sort of part of what makes the world the world. And it was a tragedy to see it burn, and you wonder just how it could have gotten so out of control here. Putin is now offering to send Russia's best experts to help restore the cathedral. And Russia has got some very good experts. They've got decades of experience restoring things like that. Well, they rebuilt the Amber Room, and they've been rebuilding all those Russian imperial palaces from the era of the Tsars that were basically neglected and allowed to rot, during the Soviet era. So they're very good at what they do. I've seen some photos of the rebuilt Amber Room, and it is just gorgeous. It is just gorgeous. So they're going to be going over there as well. Okay, now then. We were talking the other day about how this one professor had done a laser reconstruction or laser scan of the interior of the Notre Dame Cathedral. And it turns out he wasn't the only one, because apparently this computer games company, the one behind the Assassin's Creed franchise, Ubisoft, had done the same thing, because one of the Assassin's Creed games takes place in and around Notre Dame Cathedral. So they had done a high-resolution scan as well. They're making that data available to Notre Dame for use in the reconstruction. Apparently, they're donating a bunch of money for the reconstruction, and that specific game of Assassin's Creed is being basically given away for free. If you want to basically download it, and you can look at Notre Dame Cathedral from the point of view of one of these assassins. And I noticed that the movie about Assassin's Creed has been on cable the last few days. Now, I don't play computer games, so I'm not really very good at it. Flight simulators, I love flight simulators. I did go ahead and download this Assassin's Creed game, and I got lost immediately. I got dumped into something about Jacques Desmoulins, where it kept saying, follow Jacques Desmoulins, and I kept putting the mouse button on it and clicking it, and it wouldn't do anything. I don't know, maybe it needs to have one of those little, those double-handed things, those game controllers or something, or maybe it needs a joystick. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't know about computer games. But for those of you who are into computer games, and you're into Assassin's Creed, for a limited time only, they are giving Assassin's Creed away, the one that takes place around Notre Dame. They're giving it away for free. So I would take advantage of it. It's a good chance to take a look at the cathedral as it was laser scanned. All right, so let's get into some of the let's get into the war stuff. The war stuff is fun out here. Okay. Apparently, over in the British Navy, they've got a little bit of problem. Now, a difference between the American Navy and the British Navy: the American Navy are teetotalers. They do not allow alcohol on board their ships. I'm sure it gets there anyway, especially, with the chiefs. But generally, officially, it's banned. The British Navy is different. They're allowed to have beer and all kinds of things when they're off shift and so forth. But apparently, there's been a problem with sailors of the Talent nuclear submarine were caught using cocaine, and it resulted in the disruption of the operation of tracking down Russian submarines in the North Sea. They're up there in the North Sea, and they're tracking the Russian submarines, and the Russian submarines, I'm sure, are tracking the British Talent submarines. And of course, it makes it very easy for the Russian submarines, because all they've got to do is, on the sonar, they listen for And, they find the British submarine right there. So HMS Talent should have gone on a raid last Sunday, but apparently the day before, the crew members attended a party after which 7 sailors failed a drug test. They were fired, and the submarine's departure was postponed. And apparently, this isn't the first time this submarine has had problems. 4 years ago, the submarine was on a raid tracking Russians. It hit an iceberg, and it almost sank. Now, I'm sorry. How do you, in this day and age of modern remote sensing equipment, how do you hit an iceberg? When the Titanic did, they didn't have sonar, they didn't have radar, okay? They had lost the binoculars. It was a moonless night. There was a cold air mirage that basically hid the horizon from them. And you can understand why they rammed into that iceberg. But, in this day and age where you've got sonar and you've got all these other remote sensing equipment, how do you hit an iceberg? And I know it sounds weird. I mean, these things do happen. I remember the lead boat on the Soviet Union's Alpha-class submarine actually rammed a whale when it was out there on its sea trials. Had to put it back into dry dock for like 6 months. And I understand that some of the ribs from the whale are a decoration in the Russian Navy, the submarine, wherever the submariners hang out. But that, and then you look back at what happened a year ago, where these 2 U.S. Navy warships rammed these commercial cargo ships, one a tanker, one a container vessel, killed all those people. And what is wrong with these people that they don't know how to handle a ship? These ships are very, very expensive to build and to operate. What is going on here? Now, obviously, if you've got cocaine on the HMS Talent, that is a problem. Anyway, okay, over in Serbia, Russia has now allocated $20 million to demine Serbia. Apparently, Serbia still has a huge number of mines that littered the ground from the last time Serbia was at war with somebody. I don't even remember who that is. But Russia has now committed $20 million to go on in there and demine Serbia, which I imagine involves one of these large tank-like vehicles with the big roller and the chains on the front that just basically flails the ground ahead of the tank to detonate mines. That must be a heck of a job. Can you imagine being the driver of that tank? Just drive, bang, drive, bang, drive, bang, drive, bang. I don't know, I guess, well, that would drive you to cocaine right there, I guess, okay? Okay, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, we're talking about her a lot. She may have just ended her career. She is proposing cutting military and economic aid to Israel, which I agree with, but obviously that's going to be the end of her career in politics in the United States. Not that I think she really had one to begin with, because every time she opens her mouth, just this idiotic stuff comes on out. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words.
corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And Republic Broadcasting needs your support. I can't put it any plainer than that. I really can't. It needs your support. So does whatreallyhappened.com. I think one of the most frustrating things that we're dealing with right now, we know the corporate media lied about Saddam's nuclear weapons. Nobody even questions that anymore. We know the corporate media has lied to us for 2 years about Trump-Russia collusion. They've been pounding it at us every single day. Now, of course, it's been demolished by the Mueller report. They're trying to spin something out of there to save themselves, but you know, their ratings are in the Al-Qaeda. But they still have lots of money. They have lots of money from those who wish to control you with lies, fraud, and deception. Now, Republic Broadcasting and whatreallyhappened.com, we're out here trying to give you the facts to keep you fully informed so that you can make good choices in the best spirit of Thomas Jefferson. but we need your help to continue. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can pledge a debit card, credit card donation, or pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. The network thanks you. I thank you. We're basically in a fight here for the future of this country. This is the front line right here. This is the front line. And how well we do is up to you. All right, so getting on back to the war zones here. North Korea had claimed that they conducted a new tactical guided weapons firing test Wednesday, and the U.S. intelligence assessment is, well, not really. We don't think it was all that big a deal. They were testing components for an anti-tank weapon rather than an entire operational new weapon. I'm not sure who to believe here, given how much our government lies to us. Meanwhile, this is an interesting development and probably not too surprising. North Korea is now demanding that Mike Pompeo be removed from all future nuclear talks with the United States. Apparently, they're not getting a feeling from him of being willing to talk seriously about economic sanctions. In fact, they basically accused Pompeo of talking nonsense. And they're saying they really need to have somebody else come to the table from the United States. Some other person who is more careful and mature and communicating with us. Well, I would definitely agree with that, because Pompeo and Bolton have seriously misjudged the Asian and North Korean mindset from day one here. Okay, let's talk about the Mueller report. It's out there. Everybody is trying to spin it their own particular way. The Republicans are saying it completely exonerates Trump. The Democrats are out there saying, well, no, it doesn't exonerate Trump. And even though it doesn't actually say Trump did anything wrong, we're convinced he did. And they're going back and forth. Most Democrats right now are saying it would be premature to try impeachment. Yes, it would be. But there's still a couple of hard case holdouts like Ocasio-Cortez are out there saying, yes, let's go for impeachment. Let's get him out here now. So we'll see what happens there. But the Mueller report, as it has been released with its redactions, it basically has ended the Trump-Russia collusion theory. It is dead on arrival. It is dead. The corporate media lied. The corporate media lied. The corporate media lied for 2 whole years. And that's the message that we need to keep getting out there into the public. How can you trust a corporate media that lied to us all for 2 years that Trump had colluded with Russia without any evidence whatsoever? You know, along with, of course, Saddam's nuclear weapons. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we've got callers on the line here. So let's start with Terry in California. Terry, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mark, you didn't mention the fact that, the way I heard it was that the gas they shot in the compound of Waco was flammable gas. And they tried to blame that fire on David Koresh, but actually something ignited that flammable tear gas that burned the compound down. You remember when Janet Reno found out about that, she was reported to be furious at, I think the FBI was involved in that too.
Yeah, it was the FBI.
At
well,
Louis
you know,
Freeh,
the actual tear gas itself, the actual tear gas itself was CS, which is a powder, and it requires a propellant, and the propellant they used was methyl acrylate, I think, which is very toxic in and of itself, and it's the chemical that's used to bend plexiglass, those plexiglass covers over the salad bars so your dandruff doesn't get into the food. It's that chemical, and it can basically melt your lung tissue, and yes, it is very flammable. It is explosive.
So they had that mixed in with the tear gas?
Yeah, that's what they were using for a propellant.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, well, that's what did it. I mean, David Koresh didn't start any fire, just something ignited that gas.
Yes.
You know, and of course, they lied and said that David Koresh wanted to commit suicide with everybody in the compound and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah,
But,
they demonized him. The corporate media went along with it. There was even a TV movie that portrayed him as basically molesting all the children in the Branch Davidian, Koresh had basically saved that church from its previous pastor, who really was a bit of a jerk. There was actually a meth lab on the grounds, and when Koresh took over the Branch Davidians, he called up the cops and said, "There's a meth lab here. Would you please come and dismantle it and take it away?" And he was on good terms with the local police. They'd go out shooting together. Koresh would bring the guns, the cops would bring the ammo, they'd try each other's guns. They had a good old time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mike, the other point I wanted to make is that the AOC making that comment about Israel. Here it took this new freshman class of girls that are kind of wacky, but it took that Somali girl. She's the one that started it going, in that interview about Israel, the Benjamins and all that stuff.
Yes.
It took that to put a little crack in the armor, because before that, nobody had the guts to say anything. Now we got AOC saying something, and saying something great. I'm almost willing to vote for her if she would push that. Even though it's far out. She's far out, but it might get the conversation going with the snowflakes, and from there people might get a little informed, and you take that little crack that was in the armor, and you're expanding that out, and that's exactly what we need, So
no argument there.
There's good news, but they'll probably try to cover it up, and won't try to squelch it where nobody finds out about that statement, because they want to put a cap on it before it gets out of the bag. So but I have to think that that's encouraging, because before everybody was so scared to death they wouldn't dare say something like that, but that's what I dream about, is cutting off aid to Israel and, getting us out of all these wars and for them and all that. I was looking at this YouTube video. Rand Paul had Pompeo in front of his committee, and he asked Pompeo, do you see any connection between that resolution that was passed years ago about going after Al-Qaeda, the Congress passing a resolution to let Bush go to war, and Iran? And he danced around it, Pompeo, and he says, well, they killed the Republican Guard. Well, it came up about, designating them as a terrorist organization. And then he said, Republican Guard killed 600 Americans. He was trying to dance around the question, is there any connection there between that last congressional authorization and a new one against Iran? And then finally, Rand Paul said, look, that does not go to Iran. That's a separate thing. It's over, and you're going to go to war with Iran. We need to approve it in the Senate.
Yeah.
Absolutely, positivity, in a discussion, and that's it. And of course, Pompeo didn't have any reaction to that, So maybe things are starting to turn around a little bit.
Well, we're starting to see some changes here. I mean, support for Israel is beginning to soften here in the United States, even among American Jews, who are realizing that it is Israel's actions that are actually making the world more dangerous for the Jewish people, rather than anything else. I mean, the Jews right now are the most protected people. They get the lion's share of security funding. They get the lion's share of protection. They're always treated like, oh, we've got to keep them from being victims. But a lot of them are realizing that whole victimology is part of the propaganda that keeps them obedient to the rulers in Israel, and they're getting kind of sick and tired of that. And I think Americans are tired of it as well. We're starting to feel the economic hardships of the war economy, and a lot of people are starting to say, why do we need to be sending all this money to Israel? I mean, after all, it was the United States and the other allies who stopped the Nazis from completing whatever it was we are being told that they were trying to do to the Jewish people. Shouldn't they be grateful to us? Shouldn't they be sending money to us? Shouldn't they be saying thank you? Shouldn't they be raising monuments and memorials to the Allies for what we did in World War II? And instead, it's the other way. The attitude is, okay, yes, you did nice things for us last week. What have you done for us this week?
Exactly. Something I just found out yesterday that I wasn't aware of, and most people aren't, that they activated some Army Reserve and National Guard troops that are construction people and sent them to Romania, and they're redoing 3 bases over there with Americans, and they're redoing bases in Poland.
Yeah.
So it's part of the encircling Russia, on the Black Sea there. So they got this ambition to encircle Russia. So I didn't know about Romania and Poland.
Well, it's a lot of people are saying this could be just another Cold War, which is never intended to actually be fought, but simply to justify plundering everybody's wealth for more weapons.
Exactly.
And obviously, that would be preferable to a hot war where we actually start shooting at each other. But again, even with the Cold War plundering the people for weapons, it's still taking money away from things like schools and hospitals and roadways. And it basically distorts the society, and it can bankrupt a society. It certainly did the Soviet Union. My concern, of course, is that during the last Cold War, we came dangerously close on numerous occasions to an actual nuclear exchange. The Cuban Missile Crisis was one. There were a couple of mistakes, technical errors with all these systems. And today we have to add in the computerization factor, where these computers could make a decision and launch a nuclear attack before humans would even have time to intervene. That's what happened when the USS Vincennes shot down that Iranian passenger jet. That's what happened when the U.S. Navy accidentally shot down TWA-800. It was all driven by computer software, and it was over before anybody could do a thing about it.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, well, thanks for your insight.
All right, well, thank you very much, Terry. We're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
And don't forget, Mike, Russia's got that dead hand system, which we probably have something like that, where if you knock out their government, they can still, retaliate.
Yes.
So, and that's all through computers. There's also intermediaries that are in between that, but we're not going to attack Russia. I mean, they got the home field advantage. We don't have the manpower and just the supply lines to do that. I mean, I don't care if you're coming from Poland or you're not. That is a fortress, okay? I mean, you need an army like the size of China's, because you always need 4 times more to do something like that. I don't care what kind of air power you got, because it's always air power doesn't win the war; it's the ground.
Well, that was the lesson from Vietnam.
Yep, and Mike, with Iran and Venezuela, we're still. You notice to this day, they're still not able to do anything to Venezuela. Basically, just sanctions.
Yeah.
There's no invasion. There's no this or that. But the longer it goes on, it's just they'll find alternate ways to go around the sanctions. So that's why this is never going to work. Just like with Iran, they'll learn to go around the sanctions, and I look at like what Trump's doing with the tariffs now. I'm like, with Boeing, because Boeing's in some bad shape with the 737 Max.
Yep.
And I'm like, if you keep putting sanctions on people, tariffs, they're just going to walk away and do business with somebody else. He said he's a businessman, and the art of the deal. That's not the art of a deal. You got to talk. I don't understand why if that's the art of the deal, that's not the right deal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because he's just pushing them away from the United States.
That's exactly right. That's exactly the problem.
But Mike, if he gets in for another 4 years and he has the same, if he doesn't get rid of like Bolton and Pompeo and Larry Kudlow's no good, that guy, and all these other people in Europe and stuff, they're thinking about that. Well, if he's here for another 4 years, it's going to be like, more tariffs.
Yes.
Until, you do what we tell you to do. And that part of the equation, like, I don't know if the people in Washington have put that into that equation. Because, you got to think ahead. I don't know. I think tariffs is a bad move right now. Airbus is subsidized by Europe, right?
Yes.
But Boeing is subsidized through the military-industrial complex. Over here.
Yeah.
So but Trump says, "Oh well, Airbus has an unfair advantage because the EU subsidizes them, but we subsidize them through a stealth way through the military-industrial complex, even if we don't do it through commercial means." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of weasel wording. One man's subsidy is another person's, underwriting of a loan or something. There's no question, of course, that Airbus is subsidized by the European governments, and they've become a flagship company for them.
And also, Mike, Airbus is like a newer airplane.
Yes.
The 737 MAX is still built on a 60s, 70s frame and stuff. It's up to date, but it's not. The Airbus, the 320, I think, is like superior to this thing. Mike, Boeing's gonna have to build like a new plane from scratch.
Well, that's what they really should have done with this, instead of taking the 737 and sticking those big engines on the front of the wings, because that's what made it unstable. And so they tried to fix that with a software system that turned out to have a serious bug in it. And it's ruined the reputation of the company. It's already killing the sales of the 737. It's depressed their stock price. And the timing is really bad because Boeing was just coming out with the 777X, which is their new largest aircraft ever. And it looks like that's not going to do very well because people aren't sure they can trust it.
And Mike, I watched the Duran. They said the larger airplanes are for more intercontinental travel, but the 737 was more for domestic travel.
Yeah, it was a short hauler.
Yeah. And Mike, if it takes like they said, it takes a decade to build like a new plane from scratch. China and Russia is building new planes, like airliners that will compete also.
Yes.
So Boeing's in trouble.
Yes, they are.
And that's the third of our exports, because we really don't export anything. We don't make anything anymore. Yeah, that's one of the few things that we do. And did you know Airbus 320 is actually being brought into this country?
Yes.
Like at small amount. So if nobody buys a 737 MAX or, they're going to be buying more Airbus, which will take more away from Boeing.
I mean, you've
That's
got
why
the
they got the
737.
tariffs, you know?
You've got the 737 Max problem. You've got the fact that the 777 sales have never really recovered from the problems with the lithium batteries, and they were trying to relaunch the new 777X as being new and improved, and it came out at the same time they had these problems with the 737 Max. So yeah, Boeing's in serious trouble.
And Mike, those engines are more fuel efficient, but they're heavier, right? Like, so they got to compensate.
They're
with the
heavier,
software.
and they also, in order because they're larger, they put them out further in front of the wings, which means they're ahead in the airflow. They've actually moved the aerodynamic center forward, closer to the center of gravity, and that's what makes the plane unstable. Dustin, got to let you go. Got to do a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones here to Joe in Tennessee. Aloha, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Just this whole Mueller thing. I'm glad to see that the deep state and their CIA-controlled media is still trying to slander President Trump with the Russia stuff and the fact that they They say that he might have been trying to influence the election. It's great because I want Trump to be at war with the deep state and the Justice Department and all the crooks and criminals. And I pray every day that the Democrats will have Mueller come before their committee. I would love to see it. The whole world will watch it, and he will literally be taken apart. It'll be the great. I think they're starting to back off on that. Maybe he'll bring Weitzman with him too. I would just love to see those two before the whole world. And because I just know how the system is now, it's these people are being exposed, and
yes,
there's something going on in the air that just makes them have to, reveal themselves. And I would love to see Mueller, the creep that he is, the political assassin that he's always been. He's been involved in every dirty deed in the FBI is covered up or have been involved in since 9/11. He probably does go back to Waco in one way or another. I bet you could find his dirty handprints in the cover-up of Waco or Oklahoma City or one of those. That's probably how he earned his bones with the mafia that is our FBI right now.
Yeah.
And I just like I said, I'm praying that the Democrats will bring Mueller and Weitzman and a few of these other people in, attempting to destroy President Trump. Because there's just something in the air that these people are being exposed. And that's kind of what I wanted to say today is that I doubt the Democrats will be that stupid, but, they are pretty stupid, it seems. And I really doubt that Mueller would want to go. I'm sure he doesn't want anything to do with it, because the first question is going to be, well, when did you find out there was no collusion? I mean, why did you wait till after the 2018 elections? I mean, it's something that he should have known
that's an
pretty much
important
right
question
away.
there, because what we're hearing is that they knew there was no collusion last August, and if they'd come out back then and said, there was no collusion, it definitely would have had an impact on the midterm elections.
Yeah, so the real election interference was done by the FBI and once again by Mueller, and previously it was done by Comey with the Clinton emails. So what we really have is the deep state election interference apparatus being exposed, and once again, it's interesting, and it's just playing out the way I really kind of hope it would. I wish Trump would go after them and start the real investigation of the investigators sooner, but I think it's happening, and I think I'm quite impressed with Barr. I was actually worried that he was a Bush establishment stooge, but I think he might be for real about getting us back to a form of justice that he respects, and that and maybe he does have honor. We'll see. Well, I mean, it's only time will tell.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, for me, the litmus test is very simple. When Barr goes after Hillary's email server and after the Clinton Foundation, then he's legit. Up until then, no. Anyway, Joe, got to let you go. Got to take a station identification. Back with another phone call after these few words.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're going to go back to the phones. Michael in Canada. Aloha, Michael. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Well, first I just want to tell you I've been listening to your show since, about a year before John from Barbados passed away.
Oh, yeah.
That's how long that's been, but I hardly ever call in. Don't have much to say, but there's something I want to mention. I said I want to talk about the Mueller report, but this is more to do with the whole Russiagate thing. Did you ever see Putin doing these marathon question and answer things with journalists?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I seen a clip from one of those, and it was a journalist from your country, a so-called journalist, get up there and said, "Has your country interfered in our elections?" Putin said, listen to this now, this is what he said. He said, "Why would we, when we know it doesn't matter who wins? Your foreign policy doesn't change."
Yes.
You see that one?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
absolutely right. Presidents may come and presidents may go, but the war machine goes on forever.
Yeah. That might be a little bit off topic, but I just wanted to get that in there in case other people didn't hear it, or they did now. I like Justin, or Dustin there. Dustin, yeah. Keep up the work there, Dustin. I like listening to you. That's about it, Mike.
All right. Well,
one
thank
more
you for the
thing.
phone call. Thank you for the
One more
kind
thing,
words about Dustin. And we're going to get back here to the news. The phone lines are open now if you care to call on in with your opinions. And let's see what's going on. Okay. Yeah, now that the Mueller report is out, even in redacted form, and it makes it very clear there was no Russian collusion, now the liberals, the Democrats, they're spinning over to what was there obstruction? Can we impeach for obstruction? And it is embarrassing, I think, as an American citizen, to watch these people behave this way. It's like a bunch of kids. It's like the entire Capitol building is one giant kindergarten. You almost feel like slapping some of these kids upside of the head and say, look, you got to behave yourselves. It's time to grow up. So, anyway. Okay, so let's see. Story coming out of FortRuss.com. The Russiagate hoax exposed the colossal inertia of racist, Russophobic, fake news conspiracy theory. And the gist of the article is basically that after 2 years of the corporate media screaming Trump-Russia collusion, that there is a segment of the population, mostly Democrat obviously, who are not going to accept the conclusions of the Mueller report. They're going to be convinced Mueller was bought off, he was threatened, the report was covered up. They're true believers. We believe that Trump colluded with Russia, and there's going to be no facts, or to be more accurate, the absence of facts will not change their mind. They're true believers. We know that Trump did all these horrible things. Facts be gosh darned. We know he's a bad person. Now, Trump came on out basically responding to the whole obstruction issue, which is a very gray area. And Mueller's report basically said he couldn't really exonerate Trump for obstruction, but on the other hand, didn't really have enough to say that he obstructed the investigation. And of course, the Democrats are saying, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Trump came on out and said, look, if I'd really wanted to obstruct this investigation, I would have fired everybody, including Mueller. And Trump is saying the best proof of no obstruction was the fact that he basically just let the investigation go through to the end, even though as president he had the power to end the probe. And that was the right thing for Trump to do. He absolutely played it right. Now, over at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is saying Trump should have shut the Mueller operation down. They knew there wasn't any collusion. And this is one of the few times where I disagree with Tom Fitton, because Trump did play it correctly. He just let the investigation go forward. He knew they weren't going to find anything, and he just gave them enough rope to basically hang themselves with. And now they're dealing with that. The Mueller report is the petard the Democrats have hoisted themselves with, and they're still trying to figure out some way they can spin it to their advantage for 2020. All right, let's take a phone call. Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good day. Good Friday to you, Michael.
Yes.
And happy Easter. Okay, well, what's on my mind is, first off, a few things. The Mueller investigation is a disgrace, because look what Hillary did get away with. And, Michael, whatever happened with Debbie Blabbermouth or Debbie Wasserman Schultz with the DNC, what did she do? I can't actually remember, but I know she did an illegal activity, and she's out there on the news today saying, oh, Trump's this, Trump's got to be impeached. And, I mean, unbelievable. She's the one that's speaking for the Democratic Party? Debbie Wasserman Blabbermouth Schultz?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I think it sends a wrong message to our young people, because these are individuals who have basically abused the system. They cheated Bernie Sanders out of his nomination, and yet she's still considered a celebrity by the corporate media.
Michael, exactly. The other day I talked to you, and you said something really interesting. All these celebrities are still in the United States. I thought Rosie and Cher and all of them were leaving. Madonna. Why haven't they left?
Well, they haven't left. That's the whole point.
Yeah, because they don't want to go to Nicaragua or Cuba or even Europe, actually.
Well, they were going to go to Canada. They were all saying they were going to go to Canada, which is not a bad place to go to. Canada's very beautiful.
Yes, it is. I've been in Vancouver. It's a very beautiful, beautiful country. But, Michael, another thing that's really bothering me, I know you don't like talking this issue too much, but it really is bothering the crap out of me, is this Kate Smith. They're trying to say her music's racist, and that they had to tear the monuments down, and, that blows my mind. What about these rappers that go around with the filth they talk about white people? Now they want to kill cops. Where's their confidence? Because they're always talking about, what did Kate Smith do? She was back in the 30s.
Yeah.
What was that all about? Kate
well,
Smith?
she recorded one song back then that did have some unfortunate racial stereotypes within the lyrics. About somebody needs to pick the cotton.
Can you refresh my memory, because I don't know what that is?
Well, I can't sing you the song. I'm just telling you what I'm aware of. But you're right. Back in the 30s, I mean, it was actually a top 20 hit. Whatever the song was, it was a top 20 hit, and it was socially acceptable back then. But again, we're in this situation where they're trying to judge people today based on things that happened a very long time ago under a completely different set of social rules. But you're absolutely right to point out, we have all these rap singers who are out there just saying all these very offensive things about white people and about police, and nobody says, let's chastise them. It's like it's okay for black people to scream these offensive things about white people, but at the same time they're attacking, white people from the 1930s. They want to tear down their memory. They want to basically, shut down their recordings.
Michael, exactly. And you know what really, what I don't understand about the Afro-American community anymore is, they always talk about racism, but do they realize that how many white males killed each other for giving them their freedom?
Yes.
the black males didn't kill the white males to get their freedom. White males had to kill each other to give the black men their freedom. I hate to tell you that, but that's the truth.
Yep.
And the rap music some of these black artists are singing is actually putrid. It's disgusting. And no white guy is going to get away with what they get away with. And, now they're talking about Laura Ingraham with this Nipsey Hussle or Muscle, whatever the hell. And that's another joke. Now, she's a racist pig and all that. I mean, it's unbelievable. And some of these black commentators on these CNN and like that Don Lemon, you used to hear the filth that comes out of their mouth about white leadership.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And they get away with it. But you could not reverse it and do it the opposite way because you would be a race hater or whatever. They'd label you every kind of filthy name they can think of. It's just unbelievable what's happening in the United States. And with this immigration with New Mexico, I saw that on the news today.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. It's like a dumping ground. Just dump all your and by the way, Michael, these people don't speak English. Do you know how much money that costs to teach them to learn to speak English?
It takes an awful lot because most of them don't want to learn English. Their attitude, they come up here and their attitude is you learn to speak our language. I used to run into that when I lived in Los Angeles. You'd go into heavily Chicano areas of Los Angeles, and their attitude is, you learn to speak our language. We don't have any obligation to learn to speak English. You learn to speak and read, write Spanish.
Exactly, Michael. And here's my point. You made a great point right there. The Israeli government, the state of Israel, would never allow all the different Arabic countries to speak different Pharisees and all these languages. You think Israel's going to allow that? They're not going to allow that. They're not going to allow a bunch of Arabs going there. But you got all these Jews in Congress and the Senate who are totally for open borders. Unbelievable to me. But they want Israel secured. You can bet on that. They want that state of Israel locked down with a wall and everything, and make sure the taxpayers are paying their money out to them. It's just unbelievable. And it's got to stop. Trump's got to stop it immediately. Or whoever the commander-in-chief is, it's got to stop. It's insanity.
I agree. And I actually find myself in agreement with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for the first time, that, Israel doesn't need our money. They want it, but want is not the same thing as a need. We really, the money would be better spent here in the United States.
Well, Michael, I'm going to leave you one more thought, and I know you got other callers, but just really quickly. The Miami Herald the other day had an article in the Herald about an illegal alien gets better health care than an average American in Dade County or Broward County. Can you believe that? If you come here illegally and you need a $100,000 operation, you're going to get it if you're an illegal. And if you're an American, you better have insurance. If not, you're going to be on the hall there. They'll tell you to sit on the hall and die.
No, I absolutely believe it. I mean, there's a state that's getting ready to provide graduate school tuition to illegal immigrants. And
I heard about that too.
The first thing I said is, what about all these legal American students who want to go to graduate school and cannot afford to do so? Where is the help for them? These are legal citizens who are going to be leading our country into the future. These illegals who go to graduate school, they could very quickly be lured back by their home country. Who's going to say, okay, great, you went to the United States, now you've got a graduate degree in engineering or science, we need you back here, and we're going to pay you a lot of money to come back here and help our industry and help our science move forward. And they'll go. Exactly. They'll absolutely go.
Yeah, Michael, you're absolutely right. Thank you for taking my call. But, Michael, this immigration stuff, the Democrats are worried about Mueller and this collusion and crap. But in the meantime, they should be held for treason. They should be put in jail for treason for allowing this invasion of our country. Pelosi,
I agree.
Schumer, all those Democrats, they should be in jail, Michael.
I agree.
They should be in jail.
I absolutely
agree. I can't believe they're not being put in jail. Can't believe it. It's unbelievable to me. The mayor of Oakland should be arrested immediately, right now. Like, if Trump really wants to show me something, go arrest that lady from Oakland, California, who called, let the illegals know the ICE is coming. She should have been arrested on the spot.
I agree.
The spot. I don't know why Trump's still not. I can't believe he hasn't arrested her.
I can't either.
Right there, he's looking weak.
It's a clear Title VIII violation. It's a clear Title VIII violation.
He should be put in jail. Absolutely. And until I see when I see breaking news that lady's been arrested, I'm not going to believe anything about this immigration invasion. I think it's all by design to destroy our country.
Yeah, but it's going to cost Trump 2020, which is why I can't understand why he's not doing something about it.
Well, hopefully in the next near future, Trump will arrest that lady or have somebody will arrest her, because that's got to send a signal. This ain't going to happen ever again. Ever. So thank you for taking my call, Michael. All
right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to do a shout-out now to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining the network, and we're going to go back to the phones to Jim in Chicago. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Regarding the Mueller report, to me, it's important, but it's not exactly the most important thing in America right now.
No.
This is the question. I don't see anything that Donald Trump has done or going to do to help the average American. And as far as our infrastructure, homelessness, poverty, and other things, he has done hardly anything. Not only do I blame him, I blame the Democrats and the Republicans who sit their behinds in Congress doing nothing. Both of them are acting like children. And also Donald Trump, from the Mueller report, it just showed that he is sort of childish and he acts like a godfather. But again, to me, that's secondary. I don't see any improvement in America, and I haven't seen any improvement in America probably since the 90s.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't seen any improvement in America since the 1970s.
Well, that's a good point. And as far as him dealing with the Russians, look at his background. He's been dealing with the Russians since the 80s. So that's nothing new.
Yeah.
And if the Democrats if they really wanted to go after Trump, why didn't they bring up all this stuff during the campaign?
Well, because they thought Hillary was a shoo-in. They had the election rigged. They had the illegal vote. They had the women's vote, and if you look at the way Hillary campaigned, she campaigned like she just sort of assumed it was hers. It was her turn. Right. The deep state was going to provide it to her, and it took everybody by surprise that Trump won. And Trump won because we, the American people, are sick and tired of rigged elections. We're sick and tired of politics as usual. And so they retroactively tried to basically rerun the campaign against Donald Trump.
But again, I don't see any Democrat, and I am not a Democrat or Republican, I don't see any Democrat out there that shows me anything. And Donald Trump, he might just sneak back in there.
He very well could. Of course, a lot of people are still waiting to see if Joe Biden is going to step in. He would be a very credible candidate here. As far as the Democrats are concerned right now, I'm on Tulsi Gabbard's bandwagon. Again, I don't agree with her on issues like the Second Amendment, but I certainly agree with her anti-war stance, and I think it's genuine because she served in a combat area unlike every single other Democratic candidate out there. But you're right. If the Democrats can't come up with a real candidate, Trump could get his second term. My concern is that Hillary Clinton is going to make the decision to step on in, this fall, because there really isn't a clear front runner in the Democratic field.
I would agree with that. And as far as Joe Biden, I did hear today that he's going to announce probably next week about running.
Yep.
So, but again, he has problems also. I don't really trust him that much.
Well, a lot of people, think he's kind of creepy, he's got a lot of problems as well. But then they all do. So does Hillary. But if Biden steps on in, that may keep Hillary out, and that I think would be a positive thing. I don't want to be in a situation of having to fight the war against Hillary Clinton all over again. Is basically where
Michael,
I am.
I hear the music. I'm going to let you go. You take care. Have a nice weekend.
All right, thanks an awful lot, Tom. We'll be back with more phone calls after these few words.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And before we go back to our phone lines, because we've got callers waiting here, I got an email talking about the rap music. Actually, I got 2 of them. And the first one said that, yeah, some of the lyrics about rap music, they're constantly calling women hoes and bitches, and they seem to get away with that to a degree that no white musician could. And I'm in agreement with that one. This one is a little more to the point. It says, with all due respect, your caller about rap music is correct. We in the black community don't like the hateful lyrics either. Please remember that the record companies, advertisements, and any concert promotions are paid by companies owned by white people. We do not own Arista, Capitol, or any of the other labels. It would not be heard if radio stations that are white-owned did not play it. There are only 3 black-owned stations. I don't know where this person is writing the email from here. So this problem is being promoted by the same people that object to it. But again, there is a double standard. I mean, they're going back to Kate Smith in the 1930s and saying, oh, she sang this horrible racist song. But you do have the industry, regardless of who's in control of it, the industry today is playing this rap music with these very hateful anti-white lyrics. And nobody seems concerned about it. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones now. Jim in Chicago, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Jim in Chicago, are you there? Okay, we seem to have lost Jim in Chicago. Jim, are you there?
I think we already did, Jim, or we lost him. We have Dan.
We lost him. Let's switch over to Dan in Washington State. Aloha, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, just regarding the last caller, I think, the Democrat versus Republican thing is just a divide and conquer strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's pretty clear to me that, Wall Street and the bankers and CIA, they pretty much run America. So it's Democrat versus Republican. It's an oligarchy, basically. So,
well,
I don't see any good
basically what it is when this country was started, there was no limit on how many political parties we could have. Everybody could start a political party. There were lots of political parties. And then over time, business interests began to realize that they could save a lot of money if they could maneuver the country into just having two political parties. And that way they would only have to donate to two candidates ahead of the election to bypass the will of the voters. Now, they didn't want to go to one political party because they were still dealing with opposition to the Soviet Union, which was a one political party nation. So they said, we'll have two. We'll have the two traditional parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, and they literally set up the laws to just make it impossible for a third party to get anywhere inside this inside the system. And so that's why these days large corporations, they donate to the Republican candidate and they donate to the Democrat candidate, and that way they bypass the will of the American voter.
Yeah, I agree exactly. I don't see it changing as long as it's just Democrat and Republican parties dominating anything. They're not in the Constitution at all. There's no Democrat or Republican written in the Constitution.
No, there isn't.
At least if you had 5 parties, you might have a tiebreaker and different, things done.
No, there were a lot of different parties. Very often parties basically were created for a specific election. And they had all kinds of different names like the Bull Moose Party and, the Necktie Party and the Wild Party and the Toga Party and who knows what else they called them. But it was basically the party organized a platform around a candidate and then ran the candidate. And the party wasn't supposed to be a political institution in and of itself.
Yeah, if you just have 2 parties, it's a perfect system to divide and conquer. You can divide every issue up evenly, so there's never anything that can happen. Real quick, I don't want to take too much time, but this Cortez and Omar, since they're coming out supporting Palestine more and talking about Jewish power in the U.S., do you think that these guys have just been propped up, basically built up to be destroyed to make, people that are pro-Palestine look stupid? That's kind of how I feel about them. They're almost,
in the case of Ilhan Omar, no, I think she's genuine. In the case of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, clearly she is a manufactured candidate. I mean, her comments the other day about impeachment show that she really doesn't understand how the government is supposed to work. She is, in fact, rather clueless. She's a very pretty face, and she looks really good in those slinky dresses, but that's about it. And I don't know who it was who basically backed her to run for the House of Representatives, and I'm amazed that she got on in, and apparently that was due to a strategic error by her opponent. but I don't think she's going to win a second term. Anyway, listen, gotta let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And so everybody's still talking about the Mueller report. Everybody's trying to spin it this way, that way. And basically they're out there rushing to tell you what it means for Donald Trump. And my best advice for all of you right now is get a hold of the actual report. Yes, it's redacted partly, but read it for yourselves and figure out for yourselves what it means and if it really says that Trump obstructed justice. We already know it completely exonerates him for all this Trump-Russia collusion, which makes it kind of hard to sell this idea of obstruction of justice. How do you obstruct an investigation that's investigating something that never happened? But that's the new Democratic spin on this thing. But the important message that we need to get out to everybody that we know is that for over 2 years, the corporate media, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, PBS, Fox fed us this line of baloney about Trump-Russia collusion. And it was a complete lie, and day after day after day, they kept pounding it into our heads, hoping that the repetition, that if they just repeated it enough, that the repetition would drive it into our memory, and we would believe there was collusion, even in the absence of evidence. Of course, that's what propaganda does. We're going to propagandize you that there was collusion. And no, we don't have any evidence that there was collusion. It doesn't really matter. We'll just keep saying it over and over and over again until you believe that there was collusion. So Trump is out there. He's saying that the Mueller report was an illegally started hoax and total bovine excrement. Of course, that's not exactly what he said, but you get the gist of it. And he's absolutely right. This thing should never have started in the first place. This was started with the hoax of the Christopher Steele dossier, with its lurid tale that Donald Trump had dallied with these two prostitutes in a Moscow hotel. It was completely made up from thin air. It was completely unverified, was paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and the FISA court, on the basis of this dossier, issued these surveillance warrants. Now, let's be very clear here. The surveillance warrants were issued to try and legitimize an ongoing spy operation by the Obama administration against the Trump campaign. We know the spying actually began before the FISA warrants. The FISA warrants were an attempt to sort of say, we have a legitimate reason to think there's national security interests, therefore it's okay for us to spy, and please don't think that we're just doing what Richard Nixon did, even though we're doing what Richard Nixon did. So that's what happened. The Obama administration was spying on the Trump campaign on behalf of the Hillary campaign. So, according to Attorney General William Barr, he came on out when he issued the redacted report. He said there is substantial evidence to show that the investigation was undermining the Trump presidency, propelled by his political opponents and fueled by illegal leaks. Okay, Bill, when do the indictments happen? Because that's what needs to come next. The illegal leaks, the presentation of false information before the FISA court. There are crimes that are piled up all around this whole situation. Where are the indictments? Now, Sarah Sanders is over there at the White House saying indictments are coming. Okay, good. I don't want to hear indictments are coming. Okay, don't waste my time. Don't waste my time telling me that something is going to happen in the future. When it actually happens, then I will pay attention. I want to see indictments now. I want to see some butts in the ringer. That's what I want to see. Now, a lot of people are saying, will the Mueller report help or hurt Trump in 2020? And at this point, I say it's probably going to help him, because the American people are going to look at Trump. They're seeing him as a victim. They're seeing him as a victim of Democratic and corporate media machinations, very much a continuation of what they saw in 2016. And I think the American voters are going to respond to that. Now, the Democrats are going to be out there, pushing this Mueller report, saying, well, remember, it doesn't really clear him of obstruction, so we're going to just go on out and say that probably the obstruction did happen, and, we don't have the evidence for it, but since Mueller wasn't able to say it didn't happen, yeah, we're going to say it happened. We're definitely going to say it happened. It's amazing. Now, one thing the Mueller report did come on out, it identified multiple members of the Trump transition team, this is after he won the election, approached foreign officials to stop UN resolution against the Israeli settlements. Nobody's complaining about that one. Okay. Now, story that is coming on out from Investment Watch blog, saying that inside the Mueller report, there is information that will be used to expose the email cover-up. That really is the heart of the situation. That needs to be broken open. And again, I'm going to go back to this question. I have been asking this ever since Hillary's private email server was revealed. We know from Guccifer, the hacker, when he was inside her private email server, he saw 10 foreign IPs logged in at the same time, just rummaging around, looking for stuff. Now, going back to the 1996 Chinagate scandal, it's a legitimate question to ask if Hillary Clinton was basically selling U.S. secrets to foreign interests, using her weak security email server to deliver the goods, and her so-called charitable foundation, which doesn't qualify as a charitable foundation, to collect and launder the money. And there's another issue. Okay, to be a 501c3, you have to demonstrate that you're donating at least 51% of the funds that you collect to charitable purposes. And according to Charles Ortel, the Clinton Foundation doesn't even come close. It's single digit. Why is their 501c3 status not being revoked, and why are the Clintons not being hit with the taxes on the resulting money? So, the Trump campaign is out there. This is from ZeroHedge.com. It's saying it's time to go after the liars who started this witch hunt. I agree. Go get them. It's time to put on the presidential brass knuckles and go after these people. Because if you don't, they're going to just come up with some other way to come after you again. You need to study history. Those who plot coups d'etats and assassinations of kings, when they fail, the kings come after them. Trump is just sitting there. He knows there was an attempted coup d'etat against him. It has now been defeated. He needs to go after the people who instigated this thing. If he just sits there and does nothing, he just proves, like I've been saying for a while now, he's a weak leader. He may look butch on his reality TV show when he's out there saying, "You're fired." But he doesn't seem to really have a lot of, how shall I put this delicately, gonadal tissue sitting in that Oval Office. He's not getting things done. He's not getting the job done. We didn't get the Donald Trump that we voted for. Over at the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Devin Nunes is slamming Robert Mueller's report for ignoring the wide range of abuses committed by the FBI during its investigation of the Trump campaign. And Nunes said the report made clear the false allegations from the discredited Christopher Steele dossier about the Trump campaign volunteer Carter Page played a major role in the appointment of the special counsel, along with the FISA applications used to spy on him. And Nunes is right. The Mueller report, and maybe it's part of what got redacted out there, but the Mueller report is not really pointing the fingers at the FBI's abuses, abuse of authority, abuse of privilege. They're very much the villains in all of this. Story out of Chimp Planet here. It's official. The collapse of the mainstream media's credibility is now complete. Unfortunately, like the vampires, the corporate media continues to rise and rise again. I find that very annoying and very frustrating. I really thought that when Trump won in 2016, we were going to see the corporate media have a makeover where the paid correspondents and prostitutes were going to be given their pink slips, and the corporate media was going to bring in a bunch of new people that would be a little bit more trustworthy. Did not happen. Then, of course, with the release of the Mueller report, again, I thought the same thing. The correspondents and the prostitutes are going to be given their pink slip, and the corporate media is going to be forced to bring in some new people to regain the trust of their audience. That hasn't happened either. Rachel Maddow's numbers are in the Al-Qaeda. She still has a job. So it's like the undead. They keep rising from the grave. And that's why it's important for us, for all of us, for you, for Rivero's Rangers, to just keep talking up with everybody that you know how the corporate media lied to us all for 2 years about Trump, Russia collusion, how they lied to us about Saddam's nuclear weapons, how they lied to us about Assad's sarin gas, about how they lied to us about everything. Human-caused global warming. We're in a war right now between the liars and the truth tellers. And the liars have got the money, but we've got the truth. And we can't fight the corporate media. We can't deplatform them. We can't wage lawfare against them. But we can nail them with the truth. And that is to simply get out there with a grassroots campaign and simply say, look, these people, CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, NPR, they lie to you. That's what they get paid to do. They're paid very good money to lie to you all, to convince you that we have to go to war against Venezuela or Iraq or Syria or Libya or Afghanistan or any of these other places we're currently at war with. That's their business, to sell you things, to sell you a new tax, to sell you a new policy, to sell you a new car, to sell you a new candidate. That's what they do. I remember years ago when I was teaching a class on TV at UH, and I was saying, what is it that you think TV sells? And everybody shot up their hands and they said, cars and beer and snack foods. And I said, no, that's not what TV sells. The TV networks sell you. You are the product that corporate media deals in. They lure you in with entertaining, we hope, programming, and basically put you in a receptive state of mind to sit there through the commercials, which seem to be getting more and more commercials as time goes on. That's what the TV network's business is. You are the product that the TV networks traffic in. And you can take that away from them. Until they start being a little more truthful with you. Okay, here's a story. This came out of the original antiwar.com. The headline is, can WikiLeaks' Julian Assange get a fair trial? And I read that headline, and the first thing I said is that a trick question? So we don't know, to be very honest. When they get him back here to the United States, we don't really know what's going to happen to Julian Assange, but we should be concerned. They want to make an example out of him to discourage other independent media people from ever releasing information that is embarrassing to the U.S. military. which is really what it's all about. That video that was leaked by Chelsea Manning that showed a U.S. helicopter with a 30-millimeter chain gun blowing up a Reuters news crew. Whoopsie. Our bad. We're really sorry. And that's why the government went after Manning and Assange. Because you, the American people, aren't supposed to know that the U.S. military occasionally blows up civilians. Of course, all these years later, we know that, yeah, that happens, and it happens a lot. But back when that video first came out, the U.S. propaganda about the war was still secure. We believed that only the evil people were being killed. Not anymore. Okay, got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to James in Ohio. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I was going to talk about Civil War, but I'll just, as far as loyal Trump supporters, I just don't understand with all the open, in-your-face betrayals, how people can still, I guess it's kind of a, well, what else do we have? But the only time I found myself in that position was with females, but I was kind of getting, extraordinary compensations in exchange for my misplaced faith. So,
okay,
I don't know what Trump supporters are getting in exchange for their faith. And lastly, just real quick, tomorrow, for me and a lot of people, is the most wonderful time of the year. So I wanted to send out birthday wishes to somebody who is no longer with us, and that's about all I have for you. And keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go here. Okay, let's talk about the economic news here. We're coming up on the top of the hour and the lovely Lady Claire here, but let's get some economic news in there. Deutsche Bank, and they still have an exposure of 49 trillion with a T in derivatives. And the derivatives are something that are a major problem and continue to be a major problem. It's like a sword of Damocles hanging over Wall Street. And the U.S. government basically failed in its responsibility to regulate the economy when they allowed derivatives to just run free. And I don't know what the total global derivative exposure is. It's somewhere close to $1 quadrillion. And if it all hits at once, it's just going to rip the system apart. Now, derivatives were one of those things that Wall Street came up with. When the economy is booming, when it's heading on up, you can make a lot of money very quickly with a derivative. But when the economy turns on you, so does the derivative, and you can be in a lot of trouble. Okay, earlier in the show, we were talking with one of our callers about Boeing and the airline industry, but apparently we're seeing a lot of airlines that are now in trouble. Jet Airways India, Alitalia, WOW Air, they're basically shutting down. Jet Airways has just announced with immediate effect it was compelled to cancel all its international and domestic flights. Now, supposedly, this is on a temporary basis, but they say they basically need emergency funding from the lenders, and if they don't get it, then they're gone. Jet Airways last year discovered serious financial issues. Alitalia, always late in takeoff, always late in arrival. That's what that stands for. Okay, got to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back after these few words.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this gorgeous creature sitting next to me is the lovely Lady Claire, who likes to join us on hour number 3 on Friday with her unique perspective on the world. So, lovely Lady Claire, what is your first story?
Well, the former foreign minister of Ecuador will be placed on Interpol's red notice list after fleeing the country for fear of prosecution, as the government of Lenin Moreno continues to crack down on Julian Assange supporters. Now, what my late grandmother would have said about this, he's already gone. My grandmother had an incredible turn of phrase for that, and she would say the horse is already out of the barn.
Yes.
You know, and
my grandmother said the same thing.
Ah, okay. And apparently he was alleged to have given a speech in which he instigated people to take over public institutions and close roads. Well, whether this actually happened or not, I mean, they're never going to find this guy. Never in a million years.
Well, I mean, there actually were riots in Ecuador. There are a lot of people who think that Moreno basically sold Assange for that $4.3 billion IMF loan.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And my census Patino was informed early on that this was going to be happening and just decided to make it look like a parade and head it right out of town.
Yep.
Yeah. This comes to us from Blacklisted News. It's called Rumors of War. Washington is looking for a fight.
Washington's always looking for a fight.
This gentleman is someone for whom I have tremendous respect. His name is Philip Giraldi, and this man just lays it out, you know, very clearly. And he says in this article that given all of the horrific decisions being made at the White House, there is one organization that is crazier and perhaps more dangerous, and that would be the U.S. Congress.
I agree with that
which is not surprisingly a legislative body that is viewed positively by only 18%. Wonder what the
Is
other...
it that high?
Yeah, that kind of amazed me too. Now, here's what we've got. It's a current bill.
The numbers have gone up.
Oh, really? Wonder how that happened. Considering what we've been getting from our government has been going, you know. Apparently, there's a bill entitled Defending America's Security from Kremlin Aggression Act, the DASCA. I'll say that one more time, the DASCA of 2019, and it has received a number S1189.
Okay, so Senate Bill 1189.
Yeah, it's been introduced in the Senate, and this is the way it's phrased. It will require, not ask, but require that the Secretary of State is the guy or the gal who gets to determine whether the Russian Federation should be designated as a state sponsor of terrorism, and whether Russian-sponsored terrorist armed entities in Ukraine should be designated as foreign terror organizations. Now, they've got a couple of people who have sponsored this. Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado, and co-sponsored by Democrat none other than Robert, it wasn't true, Menendez, who has just recently gotten out of his court troubles. And Mike, what concerns me is that this, again, will take the Congress out of its constitutionally, legally binding responsibility to declare war. And you know that this is something which seems to be engineered to do this. And please, guys, our current Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, Dominionist, you might want to Google it. It may scare the stuffing out of you, because these people collectively believe that a world war is a really wonderful idea because it's going to cause Jesus to make his second appearance on the planet, and is something which would be a fearsome responsibility even for a sane Secretary of State, something we don't have right now. I've got to put my cards on the table. This guy is certifiable.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Oh,
now, the
holy
only
Ned.
reason for this Senate bill is to take the onus off of Mike Pompeo. Clearly, he is getting ready to declare Russia a state sponsor of terror, which, of course, would involve more sanctions and more tariffs and a lot more of that stuff. And he's going to do it.
Yeah.
But he wants some political cover for it, and that's what this Senate bill is for.
Yeah, I have to wonder if both Gardner and Menendez are closet Dominionists. But I know from a standpoint of Menendez, he is doing the best he can to wipe the vomit off of him from a criminal corruption case, which ended with a hung jury. And a war with Russia? What an excellent distraction.
What a
would be.
stupid idea.
I know it's stupid, but we haven't been able to charge them of any intelligence for quite some time now. And this goes back to when the DOJ charged Menendez with doing official favors for his friend and co-defendant, Solomon Melger. And I believe we have a shout-out.
Yeah, we're just going to do a shout-out now to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining the network here. And, I mean, Menendez was basically caught up on corruption, and the jury hung, which means they didn't decide whether he was guilty or innocent. They just simply said, we're not sure. So he's basically out there, and he's working with Mike Pompeo to declare Russia a state sponsor of terror. Talk about hypocrisy. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black.
Oh, man.
When we know that the United States basically set up both Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria to use as proxies against Bashar al-Assad.
Yes.
So this idea of the United States saying, we have the right to decide who's a state sponsor of terror, when the United States is itself, I think, the largest state sponsor of terror around the world.
Yeah.
And it's just more of this double talk and gobbledygook. And again, trying to demonize Russia and justify a war, which I think would be a very stupid thing to get into.
I agree.
With the Russians. At the very least, what they're going to do is continue to bankrupt the United States people to build more weapons. We're going to have more weapons, like, the Zumwalt destroyer ignoring the drivetrain problems. Then we're going to have the Freedom-class littoral combat ships if you ignore the hull corrosion problems. And the Independence-class littoral combat ships if you ignore the problems with its modular arming system. And we're going to have the Gerald R. Ford, which they don't think will ever be combat worthy, and the F-22, the F-35, and so forth and so on. It's all about convincing you to part with more of your money to enrich defense contractors, who then, in turn, will be campaign contributors to members of Congress, who will then vote for more of these military procurement contracts and try and get them parceled out to their states. Every one of these major construction projects, subcontracts will be awarded to every single state of every member of Congress who votes for the program. And that's it. They're all sticking their noses in the trough. And it's all money that could equally be spent on repairing our roads, our schools, our hospitals. But it reminds me of that old quote from George Bernard Shaw from Man and Superman. Don Juan in Hell. And it says, there's nothing in man's industry but his greed and his sloth. His heart is in his weapons. And we certainly see that where our government, okay, we'll build another highway, okay, we'll fix the dam. By golly, we're going to have a new aircraft carrier. We're going to have a new stealth plane. We're going to have, that's it. You talk about a weapons program, they instantly get a hard on.
Yeah, it's just really awful. And what I think has made it worse is that when President Trump took office, he was not only our commander-in-chief, he was also our weapons of mass destruction salesperson-in-chief, particularly to the Saudis, who've used most of the weapons sold to them by any of the companies that make them, who are killing innocent Houthis right now.
Yeah, the people over in Yemen.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. Countries will buy up the weapons, and then they'll sit there and say, well, we buy newer weapons, but we've got all these old weapons. We've got to use them up.
Yeah.
Let's go make war on those people.
Yeah, it's definitely there. And speaking of those people, we have had a very interesting turn of events in Libya. Apparently, President Trump thanked General Haftar for securing Libya's oil resources amid Tripoli fighting. Now, this is an absolute about-face.
It's the oil. It's the oil.
Yeah,
it's the oil. It's the oil.
Yeah,
yes.
it's an absolute about-face, and originally we only recognized the UN-backed government of the National Accord in Tripoli as the authority over Libya. But apparently earlier this week, President Trump spoke by phone to Benghazi-based Khalifa Haftar and was pledging to support to the general and his Libyan National Army as it lays siege on the capital. Now, this is even more interesting because you've got another statement by Trump, released by the White House, saying that Trump recognized Field Marshal Haftar's significant role in fighting terrorism and securing Libya's oil resources, and the two discussed a shared vision for Libya's transition to a stable, democratic, political system.
In other words, Haftar is the current face of the newly installed puppet ruler.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We've got a caller on the line here right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lenny in California, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, happy Friday to you too.
Thank you.
What's on my mind is the caller Tom from Florida.
Yep.
And him making the statements that and asking you that we as blacks were not aware that whites have fought for them in wars. I'm wondering what war he's talking about. Did blacks not fight in wars? But let me jump to the emails you said you received, after you got the call from him. And I want to say to Tom, Empire is just a TV show. We don't own anything. The one record company we own, Motown, we don't own that anymore. So we are not at liberty to say what goes out on the airways and what doesn't. But you can best believe if something goes out such as bitches and whores, it's because the music industry has determined that it goes that way to more divide and conquer people. Not only the blacks and the whites, but the blacks among their own selves. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to what wars he's talking about.
I think he meant the Civil War.
Well, blacks fought on both sides of the Civil War.
Yes, they
Is
did.
he not aware of that?
I don't know.
Okay, even if you go to, he can look it up for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you go to the Revolutionary War, the first body to fall was that of Crispus Attucks, a black man in Boston.
I remember.
Okay, don't tell me, Tom, that that you're the only one fighting and dying. All right, there are a lot of blacks who fought for this country when they didn't even have the damn human rights of this country.
Amen. I
All right,
hear
so
you.
I'm just a little upset about that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying to Tom is, this whole thing, if you look back in the music industry and you look back when rap first came out, it was done by the so-called the poets, the poets out of San Francisco, and there was no curse words. There was no vulgarity.
Yep.
It was all done to. It was poems done to the beat of music.
Yes.
Okay. Then you had the likes of Will Smith. When they came through, they still refused to degrade the black community or anybody else's mind. But the music industry decided they wanted to go to what they call gangster rap.
Yes.
And as a result, everybody else has become gangsterized. Black, white, Hispanics, Asians, it doesn't matter. I drove past a car the other day, and Asians were playing rap music. Okay, so
Yeah.
you know, I just want Tom to just consider, you know, just sit and think about what you say before you say it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but this is all designed to divide and conquer people. But it seems to me he's already made his decision where he wants to be. But in any case, I thank you and happy Friday.
All right.
And back to
Thank you
you.
very much. Happy Good Friday to you, too. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are now open for anybody who wants to call on in. So what is your next story?
Well, I haven't quite finished with what I'm
Finish
talking
the
about
current
with
story.
Haftar. Interestingly, in early April, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had an urgent statement for Haftar to halt his advance. We have made clear that we oppose the military offensive by Khalifa Haftar's forces and urge the immediate halt to these military operations against the Libyan capital.
Yep.
Wow, Mikey. Talk about backtracking.
Well, he's going to
and
strip the
quickly.
gears in his transmission,
It is-
shifting into
yeah,
reverse like
yeah,
that.
you know, and so what I need to ask, Mike, what is the quid pro quo? What is Haftar getting? What is the United States getting out of it? Is Haftar going to be the titular ruler of Libya until
Yes.
there is another election? And will he be supported now by the U.S. and by an oil industry in Libya that only sells its oil for U.S. dollars?
Well,
what do you think?
that's a given.
Uh-huh.
Everywhere the United States has gone into successfully,
Yeah.
the end result is that country's natural resources are being traded for U.S. dollars only.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's propping up the dollar's international value right now. The dollar isn't backed by silver.
No.
It's not backed by gold.
Mhm.
It used to be backed by your future tax revenues, but those are looking shakier and shakier.
Yeah.
And so now the U.S. is literally backing the U.S. dollar with other nations' natural resources.
And also ours here as well. Some very, they call it wilderness land under
Yes.
the federal jurisdiction, but that I think is used sometime as collateral against debts we have with foreign governments.
That's collateral
Yeah.
against foreign loans here, but that's not necessarily directly backing the U.S. dollar.
No, no.
You know, they're literally propping up the dollar by linking it to other countries' natural resources.
Right. I needed to go to another story because it reminds me of Ron White's statement, "You can't fix stupid."
Yes.
Okay. After a $14 billion upgrade, New Orleans levees are still sinking. And this was the network of levees and flood walls that was built to protect Greater New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina absolutely, stomped it. But now, 11 months after the Army Corps of Engineers completed one of the largest public works projects in its history or world history, the agency says the system will stop providing adequate protection, as in, in as little as 4 years because of rising sea levels and shrinking levees.
Well, we know the sea
Yeah.
levels aren't really rising.
No.
I mean, that's just more of that global warming
Yeah.
nonsense. But it looks to me like obviously somebody didn't really do the math.
No, they
and,
didn't.
And didn't say, okay, well, the oceans are rising. We should build the levees a lot bigger. But and all a levee is, it's basically it's a mound of dirt.
Yeah.
And it's tamped down, and it's waterproofed because they don't want it to collapse when it's necessary. I got to see a lot of levees when I worked on the riverboat.
Yeah.
All those years ago.
Yep.
But we know during Hurricane Katrina, a lot of levees collapsed. We
Yep.
know that a lot of levees collapsed during the recent flooding in the Midwest, which they say it's going to stay flooded now until July.
Yeah.
And so here we are, $14 billion to basically put into piles of dirt, and the Army Corps of Engineers is saying it's going to be good for about 4 years.
And that's it.
I'm sorry. That, to me, that's not good engineering.
No, and the question I have to answer in my mind, Why is the U.S. rebuilding in an area which is known to be geologically unstable and flooded for decades? But isn't this one of the classic definitions of insanity? Someone does something over and over and yet expects a different, better outcome?
Well,
this is insanity.
There's a mitigating circumstance, and that is, of course, the fact that New Orleans is a major seaport.
Yeah.
It is the gateway to the Mississippi, which in turn is the gateway to the heartland. So it's not like they can just sort of pull up and move. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones here to Daniel in British Columbia. Aloha, Daniel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi there, Michael and Claire.
Hello.
Claire, can you hear me?
Yes. Perfectly.
Look, okay. Oh, great. I wanted to give you guys some positive news because lately, I know with Mike, you weren't feeling good for a while there.
Yeah.
And it's just been, it just never ends.
No.
And
yes.
This has to do with music. And I know you don't cover entertainment at all, but I know the reason I'm phoning is I wanted to talk to you, Claire, because I know you're really into music.
Yes.
And music is something that should be bringing us together.
I agree.
Now, I just discovered this band from Russia, they're from Moscow and Kiev.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of throws that whole, the fact that we think they're all enemies.
Uh-huh.
And they've got horns and strings.
Wow.
And they are a Chicago cover band.
Whoa.
So they play American music.
Yeah.
And they sound just like the original. They're going to blow your socks off. You got to get a pen and write this down.
Okay.
Their name is Leonid and Friends. Leo, like Leo the Lion, NID, and Friends.
Okay.
And if you got like YouTube hooked up to your stereo with the big TV, and you play the song "Feeling Stronger Every Day,"
good, yes.
and another one's called "I'm a Man." The old Spencer Davis group, Chicago did that one too. But this is gonna. I was just gonna try and reach out to the Riveros Rangers because we should reach out to these people and say, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Our leaders are trying to put us into war.
Yep.
And these people are singing about peace. And Chicago started out as a peace band. They were like hippie 60s.
Yeah, I remember them.
Musicians. So they're touring the Eastern Seaboard right now in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually so popular right now that they're actually touring the U.S. So
they've got a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, Mike just
Yeah,
checked.
there's about 10 or about 25 so far that I know of, and you just gotta watch these. It's gonna this weekend you're gonna be blown away. You gotta watch at least that first one, and you'll be hooked. And I know we gotta get this out to the Riveros Rangers, see if they can reach out on Facebook to these guys and send a message of peace. We're sick of this. We want to just live our lives and enjoy our lives.
Yep.
So I'll leave that for a Good Friday for you guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate that greatly.
All right. So we're going to let you go here. Thank you very much for the phone call. And we're going to go back to Claire. And
well, we have a moment of dubious distinction as a nation. Drum roll, please.
Okay.
That's called the Zen drum roll. The United States has been added to a list of most dangerous countries for journalists for the first time. And the murder of Saudi columnist Jamal Khashoggi in a year where more than half of all journalists who were killed around the world were deliberately targeted reflects a real hatred of the media in many areas of society. And
you think?
I know, okay? And at least 63 professional journalists were killed doing their jobs in 2018, which is a 15% increase over last year, said the group Reporters Without Borders. The number of deaths rise to 80 when all media people and people classified as civilian journalists are included, it said in its annual report.
And I'm not feeling too well myself.
Don't you dare, or I'll stuff vitamins down your throat.
Yes, dear.
And apparently the world's 5 worst countries for journalists include 3, India, Mexico, and, for the first time, the U.S., where journalists have been killed in cold blood, even though those countries weren't officially at war or in conflict, the group said. Mike and I have a really acute sense of what that means and the sacrifices which go with attempting to best tell the truth as you know it, as we know it, and it won't stop us from continuing to try.
Yes.
In what ways seem to make sense. And here was an interesting one. As more states confiscate guns, dad shoots pedophile who broke into daughter's bedroom.
Good.
Yeah, me too. I have no compassion for the man. He tried to get him out. He tried verbally, and the whole family was trying to verbally get this guy out of the house. But he ended up getting 6 shots, and he was apparently in some kind of psychotic place and was clearly not responding to the family's verbal attempts to get him to leave. Now, had Bracey not had a gun, Lord knows how this might have wound up.
I wonder if this guy was on prescription psychiatric medication.
Or
and
trying
I'm
to
going to
get
keep on
off.
asking that question here.
Yeah.
Because I was talking with Claire the other day. We were just driving around doing errands, and I said, is it me, or does it seem like there's an epidemic of bizarre behavior among the American people? And she agreed with me. Anyway, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And lovely Lady Claire, what's the next story that you have for us?
The next story, which I'm sort of not buying. Turkey arrests 2 alleged UAE spies, and get this, possible links to Khashoggi killing. Right. They have arrested 2 UAE intelligence operatives in Istanbul, and senior officials are saying that this could be linked to last year's murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Yeah, right. According to Reuters, citing an unnamed official, Reuters, you were lazy. Name them next time. Who made the arrest public on Friday and said that they confessed to spying on Arab nationals on behalf of the UAE after they were apprehended as part of a Turkish counterintelligence instigation. All right, here's the way it's coming down to me. The Butcher of Yemen now has his patsies in place upon whom he will place the blame for Khashoggi's assassination. We're going to be looking at a kangaroo court, all eager to do whatever the Butcher of Yemen says to do. And the process of extracting a confession, the Turks know how to torture. I mean, come on. Let's,
yeah, they
hello.
have
Yeah.
an historical.
Yeah. And as painfully as you can imagine, and remember, please keep in your heart of hearts, Khashoggi probably has guys who can do this on speed dial.
Khashoggi? Isn't he
I'm
the
sorry.
guy who got killed?
I'm thinking of Prince Ben Salman.
Yeah,
Yes, sorry
yeah.
about that. And a small victory for liberty in Fairfax, Virginia. A judge found that local police use of ALPR violates the state's Data Act. And there has been a recent ruling by a Fairfax County Circuit Court judge, Robert Smith, that drivers in Fairfax County, Virginia, need not worry that local police are maintaining ALPR records of their travels for work, prayer, protest, or play. And earlier this month, the judge ordered an injunction against the use of the license plate databases, finding that the passive use of Fairfax County Police Department's automated plate reader ALPR system violates Virginia's Government Data Collection and Dissemination Practices Act. I think this is a healthy thing.
I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're living in an age where data acquisition is becoming more and more ubiquitous. They've kind of discarded this whole Fourth Amendment, this idea that you have a right to privacy, and automated license plate readers are becoming common all across the country, where they literally will keep a record of everywhere that you drive your car. And I don't know about you, I find it very troubling. I don't want the government to know where I'm going. It's none of their business. I'm a very private person. You know, so what if I stopped off at the bakery on my way home from work to get a jelly donut?
Right.
Okay, that's not the government's business. And again, I want to go back to a system where the government has reasonable cause to suspect I am guilty of a crime before they start intruding into reading my license plate, reading the GPS location off my cell phone. And it really is, it has gotten to a point of like total surveillance saturation on multiple levels. And I don't like it. I'm probably sure I'm sure that there's probably people inside the government who think, "Oh, you're just an old guy, and you're just this old fuddy-duddy, and this is the new world, and you should be getting used to it." And you know, the new generation of children are being raised by Common Core. They're perfectly okay with being monitored and surveilled all the time. Okay, well, if you can convince them, that's all well and good. But for me, no. I'm not happy with it at all.
I hear you. I hear you loudly and clearly. Another article about how cops are sometimes turning from to protect and serve, but to kill with impunity. And apparently, a police officer was convicted after a video showed him tasering a boy riding an ATV from his patrol car, killing him.
Okay.
And, you know, I want to be very, very clear on this. This officer attempted to force the guy in the ATV to pull his ATV off the road by shooting his taser at him. And the thoughtless and sadistic plan backfired when Grimes was apparently seized, slammed into the back of a parked pickup truck, killing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a small note I have to the police of Michigan. You are called peace officers for a reason. You are not labeled assassins. And it is high time that you remembered that. And everyone needs to remember that tasers are far away from less than lethal other kinds of control.
No, their build is non-lethal, but in point of fact, they can and do kill.
And this is, as most of you know, there are areas where I have a hug and a punch relationship with the ACLU. And an article that they did, that was sort of a hug mode.
Yes.
And I don't punch very hard, more like a tap on the wrist. Tasers are no longer a non-lethal alternative for law enforcement. And this comes to us from Emma Anderson, who is a senior staff attorney, Criminal Law Reform Project, and Rebecca McCrae, a staff reporter from the American Civil Liberties Union. This is back in 2012. And it talked about what could happen because tasers subject their victims to a 50,000 jolt shock to be followed by a 100 microsecond pulses of 1200 volts. Now, since 2001, more than 500 people, let me say that again, more than 500 people in this country have died after law enforcement officers used this weapon against them. A study published this week by the American Heart Association Circulation Journal confirms that the misuse of a taser can cause sudden cardiac arrest and death. Now, in theory, a taser is intended to serve as a non-lethal method for controlling law enforcement officers when they need to physically restrain a dangerous person. But as the new circulation study demonstrates, the tasers cannot so simply be categorized as a non-lethal weapon. And in addition, Mike, there are far too many instances in which officers have impulsively deployed their lasers against children. Tasers against children, pregnant women, and the mentally ill. Would you care to comment about that? Yeah.
A pregnant woman. That's now we had somebody call into the show a while ago who was a cardiac expert and said the problem is that if that first 50,000 volt jolt hits your heart at the exact right moment in the beat cycle, it will throw the heart into fibrillation and you will die. Okay, these tasers are not non-lethal. But of course, that's the propaganda. It's non-lethal. Gee, we're sorry that your kid died. He must have had something wrong with him because after all, this is a non-lethal weapon and it doesn't kill. And yeah, we've got 500 dead people here, but they all had to have something wrong with them because this is a non-lethal weapon and it does not kill.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, next I'm going to turn over to Chinese weaponry development.
Oh, okay.
And
That'd be
apparently
fun.
the Chinese state media have revealed a mysterious hypersonic aircraft. And this comes to us from Zero Hedge, a very stable and readable blog and South Front.
Yes.
Now, on China's Central TV, they very briefly revealed the country's new hypersonic aircraft under development. And their Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation are currently working on a hypersonic vehicle which is capable of traveling speeds of about, 5.20 Mach for about 5 hours.
That reads between 5 and 20 Mach.
Yeah, that's intense.
For how many hours?
Let me go back. For about 5.
Okay, that'll get it pretty much anywhere on the globe it needs to go.
Yeah. And China has been pushing aggressively into this technology since last year, when Chinese researchers first revealed a novel design for an ultra-fast plane they say will be able to take dozens of people and tons of cargo, anything from flowers to bombs. Likewise, passengers could be tourists or military special forces, from Beijing to New York in about 2 hours.
Well, I would rather see tourists and flowers,
Yes.
to be honest.
Yes, so would I.
Okay.
And let me tell you, and I'm shouting out to all the congressional representatives who are taking investments in their campaigns from the military-industrial complex. The problem here is not that the Chinese have this, but through the cozy relationship between you and our American weaponry manufacturers, there's no real incentive to build better, to step ahead of the competition.
Well, that's now changing. You know, and again, that's part of the drive to extract more money from the American people. Oh, we have fallen behind. Those gosh darn Russians and Chinese, they're ahead of us. We need more. We need to spend more of your tax money on these hypersonic weapons. And there has been development of hypersonic weapons. I mean, the United States has been looking at this technology going all the way back to the to the 80s.
Right.
Looking at what was then called the scramjet technology.
Yeah.
And so they're basically they've got something in the works, but the Russians and Chinese are ahead of us because again their military is about building weapons, whereas our military-industrial complex is all about just soaking the American taxpayer for more money and sharing the goodies with members of Congress. Absolutely.
And I have to ask why this is true, and if this hypersonic plane is out there and we don't have any, my big question is why.
Well, Russia and China and the U.S. have these aircraft. They have these craft in various stages of development. I'm pretty sure the Chinese actually have one because there was this video that came out, I think it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, showing what was clearly a transatmospheric craft traveling across the sky after sundown.
Whoa.
And we knew it was transatmospheric because during the first part of the video, the plume coming out of the engine was curved, it was parabolic, and then it went completely straight, which tells us it was then out of the atmosphere, and there was nothing to constrain the plume. So that right there was telling us that, they got it up there, they've got this thing to fly. And, they basically cracked the secret of how to be able to get fuel mixed with a supersonic airflow, hypersonic airflow, and get it to burn and heat the air. And I'd be very curious to see exactly how they solved that problem. In that many years ago, I was briefly involved in a program trying to solve that problem.
I see. And you can't tell me because you'd have to kill me, right?
I'd have to kill you. I'd have
puts
to
a
kill you.
damper on it.
All I can tell you is we were a dismal failure.
Oh boy! Ouch! Ouch!
I'm sorry. It didn't work. It failed.
Yeah. Another interesting article regarding our Pentagon: nearly 100,000 Pentagon whistleblower complaints have been silenced.
Yes. Don't you say that. Don't you blow that whistle.
Yeah. 11 months, this author covered the 21 trillion, say that with a T, 21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments at the Pentagon over the past 20 years. Now, don't try to think about the number 21 trillion because you'll pass out and hit your head on a desk. If your salary is $40,000 a year, in order
I wish
to
my
earn,
salary was $40,000 a year.
21 trillion, it would take you 525 million years, at which point you can't even enjoy the new jet ski you just bought. But apparently, over the past year, there have been very little coverage of the utterly preposterous amounts of money unaccounted for at our human murder machine, also known as the Pentagon. And it's so frustrating that when we go to pay our taxes, every cent has to be accounted for.
Yep.
But these guys, doesn't bother them. And there seems to be no recourse to get them to care because no one's going to follow up.
There isn't. I mean, there was that story that we reported on earlier in the week where they're saying the Pentagon's books are such a mess. The Pentagon's just making up the numbers when they send in the reports to Congress. Yeah, we spent, I think maybe could be about, $1.5 trillion on this program, and we're going to need $1.75 trillion for the program next year.
Yeah.
And we spent, I guess, maybe kind of.
Yeah.
What a way to run a military.
Yeah. And apparently, the only part of the report that referenced that number of 100,000 whistleblowers, apparently 95,613 whistleblower complaints were issued over the last 5 years. And it seems as though the Government Accountability Office was trying to brag in that sentence. They were proudly stating, we only breached the confidentiality of 0.01% of our 95,000 whistleblower complaints. Aren't we heroes? No.
Okay, what did you do about the complaints?
Yeah. And what did you do with the people
Yes.
who were complaining? That's, I think, an even more interesting question. And this is a government that is very terrified of appearing embarrassed in front of its citizens.
Uh-huh.
And so they want all of this to go away, to just go away. Next, in terms of technology, etc., we have a very awful thing, which has just happened. Press TV-Google shuts YouTube channels of Press TV and Hispan TV, and the source of this is PressTV.com. Now, guys, Google has blocked Press TV and Hispan's TV's access to their official accounts on the technology company's platforms, including YouTube and Gmail, without prior notice, citing violation of policies. Your Google account was disabled and can't be restored because it was used in a way that violates Google's policies. Google
In
said
other
a
words, you
message.
said something the U.S. government didn't like.
Yeah, and okay, guys. Press TV, Iranian outlet. I link to it frequently because I think these people have some valid points to make
Yes.
about why the U.S. is just coming off with all this hostility, which is reflected Israeli hostility. None of the Iranians, I don't
Well,
think, are
we're
my
obviously
enemies.
getting ready to have war against
Yeah,
Iran. Okay,
yeah.
we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Oh dear.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today here. And Claire, what have you got for us?
I would like to share with our readers and listeners how absolutely infuriated I am because the media, or the alleged media in this country, has been cheering Assange's arrest. And this
Yes.
comes to us from fair.org by Alan MacLeod. And he was arrested inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London on 11 April. And the Canadian-born co-founder of WikiLeaks had been trapped in the building since 2012 after taking refuge there. He was immediately found guilty of failing to surrender to a British court and was then taken to Belmarsh Prison. Now, I don't know if our listeners and readers know anything about Belmarsh. Picture in your mind a club-fed kind of jail or prison. Belmarsh is the absolute
No, Belmarsh is
polar.
hard time.
Yeah, polar opposite. And a lot of coverage, for example, Meghan McCain on The View, hopes that Assange rots in hell. And Saturday Night Live's Colin Jost said it was so satisfying to see an internet troll get dragged out into the sunlight. But it was perhaps the National Review that expressed the most enthusiastic approval of Assange's arrest, condemning him for anti-Americanism, his anti-Semitism, and his raw personal corruption, and for harming the U.S. with his vile spite. Now, it's a very interesting note to look at. And the WikiLeaks publisher is in that maximum security prison. It's been called UK's Guantanamo, as Elizabeth Vos reports. And Guantanamo has been, or the UK Guantanamo, has been used to detain alleged terrorists indefinitely. Mike, what do you think the U.S. is going to do in this regard?
Well, obviously, the U.S. wants to get Assange, and they want to make an example out of him.
Mhm.
And we're already seeing with this media demonization,
Yeah.
They're trying to sell the idea that anybody who reports on wrongdoing by the United States government
Is a criminal.
is a criminal.
Yeah.
And it's a slap in the face of the First Amendment,
Mhm.
which gives us a right to speak out
Mhm.
about the government and to petition the government for redress of grievances,
Mhm.
which is to stand up and say, hey, I don't like the fact that you just machine gun a Reuters camera crew,
Yeah.
With that helicopter.
Yes.
We have a First Amendment right to say that. And the
Mhm.
fact that the U.S. government was embarrassed by that, well, too bad. Make sure that these things don't happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
but
mhm.
that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the United States has promised to Great Britain that they will not seek the death penalty, which they couldn't on
Mhm.
the current charge of
Yeah.
conspiracy,
Mhm.
which first of all carries a maximum of 5-year jail sentence.
Mhm.
Second of all, the statute of limitations on it expired 2 years ago. So I think what's going to happen is when Assange gets to the United States, they're going to add some other charges on there. They're going
will
to
get
try
him in
for
jail.
Title
Yeah.
18. But again, you've got the Nixon versus New York Times and Washington Post decision
Mhm.
working against them. Okay, there's the music. Time for us to get on out of here. Have a Good Friday. Have a happy Passover, happy Pesach.
Yes.
And happy Easter.
Yes.
And we'll be back on Monday. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. So have a great weekend, and aloha, America.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property